A quick review. We will begin with a blessing over the Kiddush, Borei Pri Hagafen. We then continue with a blessing over the spices, Borei Mine Vesamim, who created all kinds of spices. And then the third blessing is over the candle, Borei Meorei Ha'esh, who's created the lights of fire. Havdalah is not only for Shabbat. Havdalah is truly also about a state of mind. Havdalah means to make a separation, a distinction in our lives, to recognize that we have the ability to choose and to focus on what we want our choices to be, how those choices will illuminate our character, how those choices will bring honor to ourselves and to others. And so Havdalah is a state of mind. It is a ceremony, but it's all about making an act, about taking a stand and making a distinction, a separation in one's life. I will light up our candle, by the way, and of course, all of the meanings behind all of the items on our Havdalah. The Kiddush juice is for, or wine, is for the joy of Shabbat. The spices remind us of the additional soul, the neshama yetera we get on Shabbat when we dedicate to this day to Shabbat, to rest, to family, instead of making Saturday just a normal day. When we do create that Shabbat day, things look better. Food tastes better. The air smells fresher and cleaner. We are living more purposefully. And so the spices remind us of that addition. And then, of course, the candle, our first act as human beings, our tradition teaches us, as the sun was setting on Friday night, was how God taught Adam and Eve how to make fire and to be able to maintain warmth during the night. And so as we kindle this candle, we realize we are returning to the work week. The candle itself is braided, reminding us how much of life is all intertwined, one with the other. We, coming from all different areas, are able to be here on our Zoom and our YouTube feed. And so everything is intertwined. Everything is connected together. So there we have it. And with that, Cantor, I will turn it over to you for our Havdalah blessings.
Thank you, Rabbi. And please join along with me wherever you are. Once the West Coast starts doing a Havdalah, we know the whole world has already finished Shabbat. So anywhere you are in the world, this is the right time. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen borei peri hagafen lai la 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei vesamim borei minei vesamim la 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu העולם בורא מאורי האש, בורא מאורי האש. לי 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 ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המבדיל בין קודש לחול, המבדיל בין קודש לחול. אליהו הנביא, אליהו התשבי, אליהו, אליהו הגלעדי, במהרה בימינו יבוא אלינו, עם משיח בן דוד, עם משיח בן דוד, אליהו הנביא, אליהו התשבי, אליהו, אליהו הגלעדי. שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, שבוע טוב, a good week, a week of peace. May gladness reign and joy increase.
Wonderful, Cantor. That was fantastic. Terrific. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Rabbi, for leading that and doing all the hand signs, all the stuff with the hands.
Yes, Susan, that's my own form of sign language.
That's true. That's true. And so this is this is our first Havdalah in song of the year 2021, a year bringing us a lot of hope for renewal, especially as we now know that there are vaccinations coming along, and we want to continue to bring in joy. And one of the main ways to do that is to enjoy life, and music is certainly one of the most powerful mediums through which we can fully enjoy life. And so it's been my wonderful pleasure to start to have this program where we can get to know some of our wonderful Jewish composers in Southern California, and many of my colleagues who have been very busy dedicating themselves to Judaism and Jewish culture through their gift of music, their gift of melody and of song and of composition. And I always like to open this up with the song Ashiru Ladonai Shir Chadash, Julie Silver. Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. We will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. We will sing unto God a new song. Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. And it will not be I who is singing new songs, but it will be singing and through hearing recordings of our wonderful guest, David Shukiar, who hails from the Valley, and he is the cantorial soloist at Temple Adat Elohim in Thousand Oaks. Have a little connection with there. I mentioned to David that before he was there for 1 year, I was doing some B'nai Mitzvah tutoring, and David was like, "You were there?" It's like, yeah, I've been everywhere. That was the furthest out.
It is across the international date line, yes.
Yes, that was an international date line. And David comes to us and has been there. Has it been 12 years or so?
I'm in my 15th year there, and then prior to that, I was 5 years with Rabbi Neil Comas Daniels at Beth Shir Shalom in Santa Monica.
Wonderful, and so David has been around Southern California. This is his home territory, and he's been involved in music and in musical theater, particularly for much of his life. Fact is we were talking the other day that his middle school drama teacher was my wife's middle school drama teacher at Hale Middle School. So David's been involved in theater, and when you listen to his music, you can hear that influence. There is this immediacy and this drawing in of the listener when you hear that music. So you can definitely hear those musical theater influences, the lilting lyricism that filters through your melody. It's very clear to hear. So David has written a number of pieces for the theater. Amongst those, he wrote Little Women, the musical. He wrote Benjamin and Judah. So he's written a number of musical theater pieces, but around the year 2000, I think, he started making a turn towards dedicating more towards Jewish music, having won, I think, in 2003 the Young Composers Award for the GRG. Well,
GTM, the Guild of Temple Musicians.
I'm getting all my alphabets wrong for the Guild of
okay.
Musicians. And since that time, he's really been on everybody's radar. And since then, he's been very active, not only writing his own compositions, having had music being performed at Lincoln Center, Carnegie Hall, and other quite notable places. David has also been very busy as an arranger of other people's compositions, having been one of the people in the bullpen for Transcontinental Music for many of their compositions, where a person might be a fine melodist, but it doesn't quite not to do with the clarinet or the piano. And so we're going to be having a wonderful opportunity to listen to David present some of his pieces, and then we'll have a chance to talk. So without further ado, I'd love to, David, have you start us off with the first piece you wanted to give, which was Psalm 150. And I don't know, and so if you'd like to maybe say a quick word before that.
Sure, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me, Cantor Ken, and for your entire community for welcoming me. I'm just so humbled and honored to be with you this evening. It's actually, the reason I wanted to start with the Psalm 150 is because the commission to create this piece was from a synagogue and from a gospel church. And so it was created for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s weekend for a combined service. And it's actually two pieces. one of which is an Oseh Shalom. That's a Hasidic Oseh Shalom. You're going to hear just the tail end of that. And what I wanted to do with that is I wanted to give the gospel choir that would be singing it a little education in traditional Hasidic Jewish music. And then the Psalm 150, which is in the gospel style, was my attempt to give the Jewish choir an education in gospel music. The one thing that is universal about music, no matter which language we speak, no matter what religion we're a part of, you might not be fluent in Hebrew. You might not understand if we were to read the words of a prayer. But if you put music to it, suddenly the meaning behind that text is crystal clear. And I hope that one of the things that you'll feel with this piece is the excitement and the joy that comes from offering our gratitude to God for all the gifts that are in our lives. Now, this piece is very special to me too, because this piece was my Carnegie Hall debut. It was performed by 400 singers from all over the world that came together for a Hazamir concert in New York, and I was honored to be there, and my family was there. Unfortunately, the recording that they made of that was not, it didn't come out like they had hoped, so I don't have a recording. It's just up in my mind. But I am going to play for you from a CD that I recorded with the Tish Tones at Beth Shir Shalom, where I served from 2001 to 2006 before coming to Adat Elohim. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to make sure I share sound. And all right, you all should be seeing this page. And without further ado, if something's going wrong with the sound, give me a wave and I'll try to fix it. You gotta love technology. So You're hearing the tail end of the Hasidic Oseh Shalom as it moves into the gospel Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, shofar. Hallelujah, never get no. Hallelujah, gurota. Daminim leugam, shira hallelujah. Shira hallelujah. Shira hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, batiltalei, shabbat. Hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. Batiltalei trua, hallelujah. Oh, 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 Kol hanshama, tehalel ya. Kol hanshama, tehalel ya. Hallelujah, batiltalei shabbat. Hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, batiltalei trua. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Oh, what, David? That's so wonderful. Phil, if you could double check. There's some people who said they couldn't hear some of the sounds coming through. So maybe if before we get the next piece, we'll try to see if we can take care of maybe some of the technical issues there. But David, that it's so wonderful. I was expecting the Blues Brothers to come on up doing their backflip. But that was just so wonderful how you were able to bring in the Hebrew and bring in the English and just have this beautiful message. Just to let everybody know, the main voice was none other than...
Yes, that was me. Yeah.
That was, so you hear David has this wonderful crystalline voice that
you're way too kind. Thank you. Thank you.
Please. No, this is just, it's really, but you can tell, it's like, oh my goodness, I'd be wonderful to hear you do anything, and especially musical theater. So we get to hear that. And let me ask you something. What was the response like from the gospel choirs?
The gospel choir, what they loved was watching the Jewish choir kind of let loose. Like a lot of times it's hard when we're singing choral music. We're taught to keep ourselves up, and there's not a lot of movement. But with this piece, if you're not moving, it doesn't quite have the energy. So they were after they were giggling at the way that we were moving. It was actually really beautiful, and it was the same thing because the Hasidic piece that came before it was a clapping on 1 and 3 type of a song instead of 2 and 4, and so that was an education for the gospel choir. It was a really cool experience to see it.
Let me just share with the audience something really quick. So this is like a musical insider's joke. Is that there's actually T-shirts that say, "Friends, don't let friends clap on 1 and 3." And what that means is that most measures of music have 4 beats in it. And the first and the third are the on beats. But to get some juice in it, most people clap on music will clap on the syncopation, the 2 and the 4. However, Jewish music, we do 1 and 3, and it just sounds weird when you do 2 and 4, but that's just how Jewish music is. So yes, the gospel choir is like, what are you doing 1 and 3? It's like, it's what we do.
But I'll tell you, when we do that piece now, at my current congregation, we're fortunate to have some really talented musicians, and so we've put together what we call the TAE Symphony, and it's been up to 27, 28 instruments plus our choir, and our kids are all singing, and the congregation, the first time we did it, they didn't really know what to make of it, but now it's one of the favorites. It's one of the favorites.
I was just thinking. Before we talking this evening, I was thinking about the fact that you're writing for a number of instruments, but piano is your primary instrument.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Piano is my primary instrument, although in my congregation I play guitar. When I'm playing with the instrumental ensemble, I'll play mandolin or sometimes congas, rarely guitar. I don't play at the piano really except when I'm composing. So, and I always write, my ability as a pianist is limited. So I always compose accompaniments that are way beyond what I could play, because I wouldn't want to listen to what I could play. I would want to listen to how I envision it sounding. So my accompaniments are that when you talk about it, it's a very cinematic view of music, that I use the whole keyboard from the very top to the bottom. There are little elements of all of it because I want to paint the picture with the music, and that's you don't see it as much with the gospel piece like that as you do with some of the other pieces that I'll share. But
and we'll get to hear that just in a minute, and then I'll ask you a little more about that. But did you actually take a lot of formal classes in harmony and arrangement and
Music has always been a part of my life. When I was very, very little, I wish I would have been a more diligent practicer, because I would imagine I would have been able to become a much more accomplished pianist. But for me, it's the feel of music that I connect with, and so I'll keep playing something until I get the feeling I want to get. And when I'm writing something, it always starts from a feeling. It's never about, oh, I've got a melody, or here's a text. I shouldn't say always. Most of the time it starts with this. There's a feeling inside of me that I have to get out, and the only way that I can get it out is through music. And that's where it starts.
it's so interesting how that happens with Reb Jason last month. When he in our interview, he said pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
It's so interesting for me. It's really opposite. I just have like melodies that just like intrude into my head, and I'm like, and if I'm not and if it's not working well, I only get one or two a day, and if it's really working well, it's like a constant like, oh, shut up.
So I'm the same way. However, for me, what I've identified is that the spark of those melodies is the feeling behind it. So for me, it always goes back to the feeling.
Interesting. But that's great that you kind of have that that pool to draw from.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But without any further ado, let's hear Shalom Rav. Let's hear.
Yeah, this piece is very special. This was the one that really was my entrance into Jewish music. I wrote it for my choir and entered it in the Young Composers Award competition through the Guild of Temple Musicians, and was humbled that it was selected as the one of the. I submitted two pieces, and both pieces won the award, and it was presented at the Los Angeles Cantors Convention, and that was really my entrance into writing for Judaism and Jewish music. So I'm going to play for you.
I probably heard it because I was there. So that was at Wilshire, right?
It was at Wilshire Boulevard. Yes, yes.
Well, I feel terrible, but I heard that piece. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good. Not to worry. And I'm humbled. I've had the honor of writing music for some incredible voices, and this lady, this cantor, who is a dear friend, but is just one of the best singers I have ever heard in my life. Her name is Ida Ray Kahana. She recorded a CD as she was leaving. She was the cantor at Central Synagogue for a number of years. And so the recording that I'm going to share is off of that. Let me get into this. And I was just so humbled that she wanted to include this piece as her gift to the congregation. So this is Shalom Rav. Again, I hope you'll... Shalom Rav is one of our many texts that we have for peace. Certainly, in our world right now, we could all use a little more of a little more peace for everyone, and so I hope that you'll feel a little bit of that as you listen to some of this.
Israel, Amcha, Tasmi,
don't know if you could get any more different from the gospel hallelujah to that piece.
Well, it's the reason I'm a little quiet right now. It's just I don't want to break out the silence from after that. So it's such a touching piece, and Ida Ray, yeah, she kind of her sound reminds me a bit of some of the opera singers from a century ago.
Sure.
Like, kind of like Nellie Melba, kind of the shimmery, very, very, very gentle, ethereal. So it's anyway. You got the right person to bring out the beauty and how you use that A flat major, just really bringing that. The key, the song is in the prayer is in C, and A flat major is this. It's called a Neapolitan chord, which resolves either to the dominant or to the tonic, and you use that for great effect in that song to kind of create this like shimmery, mystical.
I think it's my vision of what it will feel like once we finally achieve the peace that we're all working so hard for.
Yeah, and so the painting was absolutely beautiful. I have a selfish question. How does it hold up without a choir?
It holds up. It holds up well. We can talk after, but it's been done a number of times with just on a solo level. And there's a High Holy Day version with the proper text.
Good. I wanted to find out whether or not you did that. That was going to be my next question. Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'm just thinking about coming up, something really.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Goodness, this would be just wonderful. Even if we are already doing Ben's High Holy Day version.
Yes.
Why not have one for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur?
Well, I'll tell you, Ben Steinberg was the person who handed me the award and became a mentor and a cherished friend, and I'm proud now, as I now facilitate the award that I was able to win twice, and now I'm in charge of the Young Composers Award, and hopefully I can be half the mentor to some of these younger composers coming up that Ben was to me. He just was instrumental in helping me navigate the waters of Jewish music in terms of commissions and how to handle all the legal stuff.
Yeah. That's if Ben could do that and keep his beautiful neshama, then
there's no one better. No one better.
Ben Steinberg, for anybody knows, wrote the Shalom Rava Yisrael, and he knows that's his one calling card, and that will outlive him forever. And having him given that to you with a Shalom Rav. I mean, talk about passing a torch.
Well, you do know I pay homage to him in that piece because the opening is an octave leap in mine too, as my way of he's a hero of mine, so a big influence.
It's very interesting doing that with at the premiere of Brahms' First Symphony. I don't know if you know this, but he wrote that ba da 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 da. Somebody came up to him after the premiere and says, "You stole from Beethoven," he said. Any fool could see that. And so it wasn't a steal. It was the tip of the hat to saying
tribute.
Tribute. This is the master, yeah. and I'm at his and I'm sitting at his feet.
Absolutely.
And people always talk about the fact that that good writers steal some of the time, but great writers steal all the time.
I'm not going to touch that comment with him, but
but it was, I forget who said it, but it was said by somebody who was brilliant. Yeah. And it's really true. Like, for instance, when I think of, there's so many times I'll do a Debbie Friedman melody. It's just like, oh, that piece is this. Oh, that's that. But she's filtered it you filtered it and digested it and
Sure.
something else. And that's what you do when you master a genre, a style. Then it kind of feeds through your neshama and comes out something different. And so we hear that. Anyway, one thing that David and I were talking about was seeing what was something very, very special that he's done in the past that maybe you haven't had an opportunity to really present to people. And on a much more serious note, I know David wanted to highlight a number of selections from a piece that he wrote using texts from children who were interned at Terezin, at the internment camp in World War II. And David, I'd love to give you the floor.
Yeah, I think obviously on a much more serious level, I was commissioned by a dear friend, Mark Saltzman, for a Yom HaShoah commemoration, where he wanted us to take poetry from the children of Terezin and set it to music. And we did it in a way, it's kind of a multimedia presentation. It's scored for 3 voices. It's scored for a mezzo-soprano who is played by a child representing the children of Terezin. It's scored for a soprano. Again, I had the honor, Ida Ray Kahana is the soprano it was written for, who just sang the Shalom Rav. She is a representation of the child that never got to grow up. And then it was written for a tenor, Mark Saltzman. And Mark, his character represents the concentration camp itself. It's scored for piano, cello, and clarinet. It's about 30 minutes long. I'll play you just a few snippets of it. But without question, this was the most profound compositional experience that I've ever had in my life. My initial thought when Mark approached me was, who am I? This relatively young guy. How do I even attempt to try to bring these children, their words, to life? And I was very intimidated by the project. The Holocaust to me has always been something that has been very, very personal. When I was in 7th grade, I got a flyer in my locker when I was in middle school that the Holocaust was a hoax. And I will never forget the conversation I had with my rabbi, John Sherwood of blessed memory, who showed me pictures in books and said, look at these pictures and you tell me that this is a hoax. And I knew, even though thankfully in my immediate family we did not have anyone that perished during the Holocaust, I knew that the Holocaust was going to be something that was very important for me in my life. So important that I led a congregational trip to Poland, where I was able to go and visit Auschwitz, and I also went on my own to another camp, Majdanek, which was a life-changing experience. And in a couple of years, I'm leading another congregational trip where we're going to go to Terezin, and it's my hope that while we are there, that I'll be able to present some of this music of these children in the place where they wrote the words. So I'm gonna play you just a couple of snippets, and we did the poetry in English. So the poetry obviously wouldn't have been written in English originally, but we used the translation. And so let me share a little bit with you. So this first piece is when a child would first come to the concentration camp.
What garden is this? Surely not the Gan Eden. Where are the trees, the flowers, the birds, the fish. Where are the heavenly choirs? The only music heard here is sick, depraved, and desperate. Even the sunlight is dusty and tired. This is a garden of pain and suffering.
Dear God, what cruel deception has brought children to this barren, inhospitable place?
When a new child comes, everything seems strange to him.
What on the ground I have to lie? Eat black potatoes, no, not I. I've got to stay, it's dirty here. The floor I look, it's dirt I fear. And I'm supposed to sleep on it. I like it all dirty. Oh, I'll get all dirty.
Here in Terezin, life is hell. Here in Terezin, here in Terezin, life is hell. Here in Terezin. Hear the sound of shouting cries, and oh, so many flies. Everyone knows flies carry disease.
Something bit me. Was it love? Was it love? Something bit me.
Here in Terezin, life is hell. Here in Terezin, here in Terezin, life is hell.
And when I'll go home again, I can't yet tell.
So I'll stop that one there. This next one I want to share with you is another powerful one for me, a powerful piece of poetry called Fear.
Today the ghetto knows a different fear. Close in its grip, death wields an icy scythe. An evil sickness spreads a terror in its wake. The victims of its shadow weep and writhe. Today a father's heartbeat tells his fright, and mothers bend their heads into their hands. Now children choke and die with typhus here. A bitter tax is taken from their bands. Today the ghetto knows a different fear. Close in its grip, death wields an icy scythe. An evil sickness spreads a terror in its wake. The victims of its shadow weep and writhe. while friends depart for other walks. Perhaps it's better, who can say, than watching this to die today. My heart still beats inside my breast, while friends depart for other worlds. Perhaps it's better, who can say, than watching this to die today. Perhaps it's better, who can say, than watching this to die today. No, no, my God, we want to live, not watch our numbers melt away. We want to have a better world. We want to work, we must not die. No, no, my God, we want to live, not watch our numbers melt away. We want to have a better world. We want to work, we must not die.
I'm gonna play another piece from that, but I wanted to explain it first because this next piece for me is the most personal piece. I think that one of the most personal pieces I ever wrote, certainly for this suite. It was the last piece I wrote. It wasn't the ending. There's a piece that comes after it, and I'll never forget. I was sitting in my studio, which was a structure in our backyard that overlooked our backyard, and I have two beautiful daughters. At the time, one of my daughters, I think, must have been 7 or 8, and my other one would have been 2 or 3. And you know, my oldest, was about the age of some of these children that I was trying to represent. And here I am writing these horrible words and trying to bring music and give life to these children who did not have the opportunity to live their life the way that they should have. And at the same time, I'm watching my 2 daughters, Jewish children, playing freely, not having to worry about if someone was going to come and take them to a place like Terezin. And this particular piece it wrote itself. I had a horrible writer's block, but once I got into it, it wrote itself in about 20 minutes. And what you're going to hear is the cello and the piano. The cello is a representation of the train, and the train tracks plays a big part in this particular piece. And so I hope that you'll be able to feel that. I'll play you a little bit of that now.
The heaviest wheel rolls across our foreheads to bury itself deep inside our memories.
We've suffered here more than enough, here in this clot of grief and shame, wanting a badge of blindness to be a proof for their own children. A 4th year of waiting, waiting like standing above a swamp from which any moment might gush forth a spring. Meanwhile, the rivers flow another way, not letting you die, not letting you live, not letting you die, not letting you live. And the cannons don't scream and the guns don't bug, and you don't see blood here, nothing, only silent hunger. Silent hunger. Children steal the bread here and ask and ask and ask, and all would wish to sleep. Keep silent and just go to sleep again. Meanwhile, the rivers flow another way, not letting you die, not letting you live, not letting you die, not letting you live.
The heaviest wheel rolls across our foreheads to bury itself deep somewhere inside our memories.
David, you mentioned to me before you presented this that you rarely listen to this composition, and I'd like you to share for everybody why that is.
I remember at the premiere of this, I sat in the audience, literally in the fetal position. I fell in love with these children. I don't know what they look like, but in my mind, I can picture each one of them, I hold them like I hold my own children, and so it's a very painful place for me to go back to. Now, I will say that there is a little light at the end. We bring in some of the writings of Anne Frank, some of her beautiful optimism in the face of such adversity that she was facing, and it really shows that even though they were living this darkness, that there was still sparks of light that they were able to find. And I'm grateful that we were able to end it on that kind of a little bit more of a positive note. But this piece in particular, because of the process, because of how I composed it with my daughters right there with me, it's just a little too personal. I hear it and my stomach tightens and my heart starts to race, and I'm back in my Donic, in the gas chamber, putting my hands on the walls and feeling the souls that were there. I'm just it's become part of my own personal Holocaust story.
Well, all I have to say is that your trepidation towards even broaching this topic, and your reticence and your difficulty in writing this, and yet eventually finding a voice for this, and really helping these children who wrote these poems to find a voice for this, I think is a great gift.
Oh, thank you.
That you've left us, and I think this piece should be heard more often. But I could understand if you would decline to want to attend.
No, it's interesting because it's not an easy. These are top first class singers, especially the Ida Ray's part and Mark's part. But the way that it was done is we had projections that surrounded, when you were in the theater, you were surrounded by barbed wire, so you felt like you were part of the camp. And then I'm not sure if everyone in the congregation is familiar with Teresian, but it's not just poetry. They drew pictures. And so what we did is we projected their artwork all around the theater so that you really got a sense of being surrounded and enveloped by the camp, but also by these children. And so it's a very special piece for me, and I'm very proud of what we were able to create. And it's very difficult to come back and experience it again. It's a very personal for me.
Well, I think that given the challenges we've all been having, that to give voice to our pain is just as important to give voice as it is to give voice to our joy and our hope. But I'd like to let you have that opportunity to have us finish up with a piece of hope from amongst your works, and I was wondering what you'd like to present.
Well, I'm gonna share. It's a short snippet. So this is another very personal piece for me, a very personal moment. About 9 years ago, last week, my wife had a pretty major surgery. She had a tumor on her spine. Thank goodness it was benign, but it was a really enormous procedure to remove it. And the procedure was very long, and I remember sitting in the waiting room watching through the glass, and you could see the operating room door, and I was just watching, waiting for the doctor to come out. And I remember this, I was saying Misha Berach's, our prayer for healing, I kept repeating, it was like a mantra, and it eventually turned into a melody. Her recovery was intense. It was, for 8 weeks, she could not push, pull, lift, bend, twist. The heaviest thing she could lift was a water bottle. And so for me, the Misha Berach that I wrote for her first was about that moment of watching the surgery through the glass and, sending my prayers through to the doctor's hands to take care of her. But then it became about the recovery. And the most amazing things happened during that recovery. We saw the selflessness of so many people. First, our families. My wife's family, who's in San Diego, came to help us out. My parents were there with us every day, picking up my kids from school so I could be taking care of Lisa. And then it was the congregation. Every day at 5 o'clock, there was a knock at the door. Someone else from the community was there. We called it the dinner fairies, and they would bring a home-cooked meal to us. Literally every day for 8 weeks. If you're familiar with the counting of the Omer, every day for 8 weeks we count the Omer as we move from when we were freed from bondage to the revelation at Mount Sinai of Torah. This was our own counting of the Omer through those 8 weeks of her recovery. So the piece became about the congregation lifting us up. And so I'm going to share a little bit of that with you. Plus, it gives me the opportunity to share my congregational choir at Temple Adat Elohim and our instrumental ensemble. So this is just a short snippet of what we did for our High Holy Days, one of the 13 videos that we made for our High Holy Day services. And this is the Misha Berach that I wrote for my wife, thank goodness. Everything is great, and she's doing very, very well, thank goodness. But this is another very personal piece for me.
Misha Berach
David, that is just that is so touching. What struck me was that you could feel light pouring through a darkness.
It very much. I'm glad you pick up on that. What I didn't play for you, there's a part that comes up towards the end where there are two unexpected key changes that really represent the congregation lifting us up during that time. But it was and I was able to premiere that piece the night my wife and my mom became bat mitzvah as part of our adult b'nai mitzvah class, and it was literally, I don't know, it was 8 weeks after the surgery, so we were right in the middle of this, and that was when we were able to premiere the piece, was at the Friday night service. So it just was a very special, it's a very special piece, and we call it, my wife's name is Lisa, we call it the Lisa Beirach.
Oh, the Lisa Vera, and it must have been a cathartic experience for you to finish and write this piece and then present it.
Yeah, you'll notice that there's no cantor part of that, and it was because there was no way that I would ever be in a position where I could sing it. I had to let the choir do it, and another profound memory was at my youngest daughter's bat mitzvah a couple years ago. She wanted the instrumentalists and the choir to present that piece as the Misha Beirach, and she and I just had our arms around each other on the bima during her bat mitzvah. I could see my wife right there, and it's a very special moment.
My goodness. Anyway, this is, what a wonderful way to have us finish up this wonderful sharing time, and thank you for sharing your music, your vision, but most of all your ruach.
Oh, thank you.
And Shama, and we can't thank you enough. And I am anticipating a lot of people going to be bugging my ears saying, when are we going to hear his music at the shul? And then I'll be talking to you gladly. So
I appreciate that so much. I'm so grateful that you have created such a wonderful program. How lucky your congregation is to have you as one of their spiritual leaders. So thank you, Cantor, for allowing me to be part of this. I appreciate it so much.
David, thank you so much. And Rabbi, please, would you, any final parting words as well?
No, I just want to echo the same things. David, the music was incredibly moving. Having been to Auschwitz, my wife and I did an Eastern European tour several years ago. And having thought I knew about the Holocaust, I realized as I toured through Auschwitz and Birkenau that I did not know as much as I thought I knew. And being in that place, and hearing your music, although it wasn't Theresienstadt, we actually had a member of our congregation, Les Dubovi, was in Theresienstadt for a while, and then
Wow.
A couple of other camps. His sister was also in Theresienstadt. They were separated, and she perished either somewhere there or in between. But at any rate, hearing that music with those words just brought me to all of those places, and the Children's Memorial at Yad Vashem in Jerusalem,
Yeah.
which I cannot walk through without coming out just a blubbering mess. Very, very moving. And yes, I concur. The Misha Berach, so uplifting, very, very bright and hopeful.
Thank you so much.
I am grateful to Cantor Ken Jaffe as well for bringing this idea to our congregation, and I am grateful for his connections. And David, for you being with us this evening. You have made not only the week that was, but the week that will be. And so this has been a great opportunity for all of us. Thank you very, very much.
It's my honor. Thank you, and thanks to your community.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. To those of you seeing us on YouTube and to those of us on our Zoom feed, we had a number of comments. People were likewise commenting about how beautiful the music was. Some of our comments include when you were playing those snippets from the children's voices. In my mind's eye, I imagine the singers set in that horrible place. And so that was wonderful. And you mentioned Rabbi John Sherwood, who was actually here at Temple Beth Or for a few years.
Really?
Yes, yes. He was our rabbi. I'd have to look up the dates he was here, but he was our rabbi here.
That must be going back a ways, because I know he was at my home congregation, Temple Emet in Woodland Hills, for a very long time.
Yes, I think that's where he went to from Beth Or. I think he went.
Wow.
There. Yeah, wonderful. So this has been a fantastic thing. Thank you, those of us on Zoom and those of you joining us on our YouTube channel. Cantor Ken Jaffe, thank you very much. David Shukiar, thank you so very much. Matter of fact, we played your arrangement of Shalom Aleichem on Friday night. So.
Oh, I love that piece. I wish I would have been the one to come up with the melody. It's so beautiful.
The arrangement is absolutely breathtaking.
Thank you so much.
Phenomenal job. Thank you all very much. Shavua Tov, everyone. Have a good and a safe week. Thank you all again.
Tov.
And have a safe week.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.